Phong, just to quickly give a brief instructions for the people who have joined us, especially on Zoom. So, there are a few things to note before joining the settings session. So, of course, now that you're on Zoom, please mute your microphone and turn on, don't turn on your camera function. So keep it off till the end of the setting session. So if you want to ask any questions, you can unmute your microphone at that point of time, and you can ask your questions at the end of the session, or you can also leave your questions in the chat function in Zoom. If you are on live stream, if you're listening to us on live stream, then of course you can also you can put in your questions in the live stream, and we will check the questions and answer. We'll ask those to phone at the end of the session. Please do not take any screenshots or do not record the session. We will be recording this session and we will be putting it on YouTube through our different channels. And we will be sharing it with Fong as well later on. So if you want to go back to a recording, please go through the official channels. Then you will be able to see the recording over there. Generally, it will be posted on YouTube and also on LinkedIn on our Design EU community page. If you have to ask any questions, as I said, please put it in the chat function. Yeah, just to give a brief, also an introduction to Fong for those who are not aware and have not met him before. So he is the head of research and trends at Circles.life. Fong is an insight and foresight expert with 14 years of experience in this field. And obviously, he has seen the evolution of research from pen and paper to now online, and now moving forward is what there'll be a lot of AI integration into the research field. So today he will be talking about that because he has led trend research at Visa and is currently leading the head of research at Circles Life as well. And for those who are joining in from outside Singapore or is not aware of Circles Life, of course, it's a regional digital telco. So, yeah, over to you, Fong. Thanks again for supporting this initiative. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and taking us through AI versus MRX. So, what is the case of best or taking the best of both worlds? So, that's the topic for today. Over to you, Fong. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Sanchita, and hi everyone on the call or in person, wherever you are. So very exciting topic today, and I have to apologize in advance that there's some drilling noise near my house. So I hope the sound is okay and you can hear me clearly. So I will start by sharing my screen. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen now.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, so I think, thanks for the introduction, Sanchita. I'm actually not that long tenure in the research industry compared to a lot of you I see on the call here who have been around in the industry for 20, 30 years. I will consider myself as a teenager in the research industry. But I think within that short time frame, I have seen the industry evolve dramatically through various iterations, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. The reason why I'm doing this talk is because I've been very much experimenting with different ways that AI can help with the market research or research industry in general. So what I share today is just some of my personal thoughts and principles that I have distilled as I experiment with this generative AI within the research industry. They are by no means the last words on the topic. I'm sure everyone has a point of view here. So if you have any questions or anything to share, you can feel free to join my Slido at this code, or scan the QR code here. So the code is 4014-259, or you can scan the QR code. So, oh, yep. So if you have scanned the QR code and joined the Slido, please feel free to post any questions, or you can also type it directly into the Zoom chat here. So today there are a couple of things that we will discuss, right? One is a brief look at the technological evolution of the MR industry and its future. Secondly, I will talk briefly about the principles that I personally feel are important for us when we use AI in market research. And lastly, it's just some fun. I promise it's gonna be fun. Use cases of AI in the MRX toolkit, right? The possibilities as I see right now are quite vast, but I have experimented with some of the use cases, and I hope to share them with you today. So we've been here before. I'm sure if many of you are in the industry for a long time, you may have heard of what we call data punching, right? Just raise your hand if you know what data punching is. So data punching basically is the term originated from the time when the first mainframe computer was created. And when you feed the data into the machine for analysis, you basically have to punch the data so that like the machine can recognize whether it's 1 or 0, right? So it's as old as that. But as I joined the industry, because you talk about data punching, is the data punching correctly and stuff like that. So some terms never die, right? But now we hear new terms like synthetic uses, the rage of town these days. A lot of skepticism, a lot of excitement, whatever the case is emerging as we speak. So the evolution of the industry start with pen and paper, postal surveys, manual data counts. Then you see the telephone came around. Then you have CATI, random digit dialing. Then you have the invention of the computer. Then you start to have computer data processing and statistical analysis. You have text mining. Then the internet came about, and you have computer assisted web interview, online panel, and then smartphone become widespread. Then you have mobile surveys, reverse sampling, digital diary. And now we are witnessing a new wave of change in the industry with generative AI. So you have startup that do assisted questionnaire design. You enter a prompt and they generate a questionnaire for you. You have automated data analysis. You upload a CSV or SPSS file and they give you all the initial findings without even having to prompt a lot. And then you have synthetic users where you can actually conduct synthetic interviews with the users and find out some pain points and problems that the user may face. And what else? I don't even know. Like there are so many possibilities that are unfolding this year and next year and the years to come for AI in MRX. Now, I just want to start off with 26 people on the call. I don't know how many more will join us, but I just want to start with a quick poll, right? How do you feel about AI in relation to your job in the market research industry? Right, there's two options here, very simple. You can just pick one of them. It's either replace your job or help your job be more effective. So I hope you can join in the poll and prompt it and complete it, and we shall see what is the general sentiment in the room. So we have 4 participants. I hope all 24 of you will join and complete the poll so we can get a sense of the people sentiments in the room. Okay. 17% say AI will soon replace my job. but there are still 15 more haven't voted. I can see that like the general sentiment is quite positive, which is a good thing. We all have a positive image of the future. All right, I think we are reaching 20. So as it stands, 9 out of 10% in the room are very positive that AI can help their job do help do their job more effectively. But there's 1 out of 10 say that AI will soon replace their job. So I don't have the answer here, right? The verdict is still out there. But what I can show you today is how some of the AI tools out there can actually help us perform some of the market research tasks more effectively. So my personal image is more of a positive image of the future. I don't advocate for a future where AI completely replace our job, right? I call it something called the Terminator syndrome, right? Which is the inherent fear that every time technology comes in a new form, it will replace and harm us in the long run. And we know that this isn't true, right? We see the invention of a telephone, we see the invention of the internet, but none of those things have ever replaced the market research industry, right? It's always helped transform our industry for the better. So the pace is not going to be any much different here, as far as I believe. Inherently, technology is neutral, right? The good or evil nature of it depends on the wielder of the technology. So we have proven time and again that we as a community are very adaptive, and we can wield our new technology to our advantage instead of being replaced by it. So that's why I've proposed a thesis that the future of market research industry is co-pilot. It's not an either or question. It's not about using all machines and no humans, or it's not about being or returning to the uh, state where we just depend on manual human process without looking at the machine capabilities to help us. So AI is like, for me, electricity. So if you know when electricity was invented, it shines the light for us to achieve greater things. But in and of itself, it is meaningless without a human mind companion, right? So what are the principles you think there are that can guide our use of AI in MRX more effectively? I would love to crowdsource. I have some thoughts of my own, but before I show you what is my thoughts, I would like to crowdsource some of your view as well. Like if you have to use AI today, if your boss asks you, hey, explore some AI in market research, what are your hesitations? What are some of the principles you will set out for yourself so that you can use it more effectively? So you can quickly type it in and we see some of the crowd wisdom. Explore current context, market situation. Yes, context, the keyword here is context. It's always important to have context. Integrating with the human touch. I would love to dive deeper and double click on that human touch. What does it mean? Having a clear ethics policy for the use of AI. Yes, ethics is a often talked about topic in the use of AI these days as well. I think recently there's campaigns that OUV run that they had explicitly stated in their ads that the advertisement are AI generated. So I think that was a welcome move instead of passing it off as original production. Um, So ethics is an important discussion point that we should talk about as well. Anybody else has a thought about the principles? Data security, yes. We all would love to just upload our data to ChatGPT and have it run some analysis for us, but obviously that would transgress some of our organization um, principles when it comes to data protection as well. Transparency, informed consent, privacy protection. Yep, all good thoughts. A cultural experimentation should be touched. Definitely agree. I think 70-20-10 rule. 70% should be research as we stand. 20% will be something that is not yet mainstream but has proven applications, and 10% will just be wild out there ideas that we can test. Um, so that usually is a good mix of methodologies and technologies that we can use in a um, annual budget exercise for any research function. At least I apply that for mine. Data quality, ensure data collected is accurate, relevant, and free from bias. That's right. Okay, so keep typing and we can revisit that these thoughts later. But I propose 5 main principles for co-piloting the future MRX with AI. The first principle is always maintain a human empathy, right? We would love to ask very specific technical questions to AI, like, oh, how has the trend of MBS improved? What is driving MBS and stuff like that? Or what is a user pain point of roaming when they travel overseas? But then there's also the important human questions that we always ask in every research project, which is what are people afraid of? What are people aspiring towards? What is changing in people's lives? What causes friction in people's lives? And what makes life easier? These are some fundamental questions that more often than not will point you towards a direction that can unearth a human truth, right? And what I'm seeing right now, based on my evaluation of AI, is that it can give you some initial starting points, but it doesn't answer the question directly, right? If I ask AI, and I did that to ChatGPT last week, what are some universal human truths of some of the famous brands? Um, they could, the AI, the ChatGPT could answer the question quite easily, and they start extrapolating the human truth of Nike versus the human truth of McDonald's, etc. But when I ask the AI to generate a human truth for a specific problem statement, it struggles, right? It start giving me very generic stuff. So what I'm saying is that it's good for us to get a starting point. It gives us possible answers, but it's never the answer, right? So if your boss think that now they can replace you and simply just get a prompt engineer to sit there and like generate answers from an AI tool, that likely not to be the case, which I'm going to show you in some examples later. It's a good place to think further, but not to stop thinking. And we always take an AI answer as a diamond in the rough, but we are the polishers. We cannot just pause when we find the answer from the AI and then move on and use it as a discussion guide or questionnaire that we can easily fill into actual field work, right? Which I'm going to show you in a while. Triangulation and fact checking first. We, we would love to just put the data set in the AI tool and give us all the answers. But the fact is that triangulation is an art across different methodology and different data sets. Still requires very much a sense of intuition and a sense of magic that otherwise AI wouldn't be able to help us with. Now, this is not me speaking as a market researcher trying to cling on to his job. I'm just simply stating the fact that realizing deep cultural nuances and understanding how these cultural nuances driving human motivation is something that the AI has yet to be able to attain. And that still requires what someone earlier called the human touch um, to intervene and interpret the data. Checking the bias as we go, this is a bit more technical because depending on the model you're using, there might be bias inherently built in to the data set that it was trained on, right? So we need to understand for that model whose voice is not being heard. Is it being predominantly built and trained on a data set, a Western text of white heterosexual male-dominated societies? What is it that is being trained on? Some voices being left out. So that is a key question we need to look at when we evaluate our AI tool or AI model, just to see how culturally appropriate it is for the region we are working in, especially in Asia, as many of you are dialing in from. And lastly, I have explored in my free time a lot of tools for AI, for market research using AI. What I realized is that there's pros and cons for each of them. There's no tool that does everything. So that's why I want to bring to you the concept of a stack, right? So depends on the jobs that you're trying to do. You should start looking at specialized tool for that job and build a stack of AI tools that you can keep exploring, tinkering, integrating into your toolkit. So I'm going to touch on some use cases that I have personally tapped into for AI in MRX. But I just want to get a good gauge of the audience, like what are the different use cases you yourself have personally tried using AI when you do your market research. So this is a quick poll, it's multiple answer, can be questionnaire creation, discussion guide creation, research design creation, synthetic user interview, personal writing, text analysis, etc. So I just want to know what have you tried. Okay, definitely questionnaire creation, text analysis. Some have tried discussion guide creation, some have tried quantitative analysis. It seems like there's still a lot of focus on the craft. Yep, now there is some that have experimented with creative ideation, personal writing. Nobody has tried synthetic user interview. To be honest, when I first heard about synthetic user and synthetic user interview, it does sound like a travesty to me to like not talk to real humans at all and just have the machines pretend to be humans and answer interview questions. But I have tried myself, and there's some merits to it, though I must say there's some cautions as well. A lot of cautions actually. It has its role to play, but definitely it's not something that we should dismiss entirely. So there are 7 respondents. Now there are 25 of you. So any of you has tried any of these things, or else I'll take it that 18 of you have not tried any of the use cases here. All right, so there's no new response. So is I can see that, like, based on the sample of the people in the room here, there are like a third of the people have tried some method here. And questionnaire creation is the most common method use case that have been experimented on, then followed by text analysis. But very few have tried creative concept creation, persona writing, research inside chatbot, synthetic user journey mapping. So there's nobody who has come up with a framework for how AI and MRX can be integrated. So here is my attempt to try to structure the use of AI and MRX, right? So there are 4 different domains that AI can help us in MRX. One is instrumentation, one is generation, the third one is analysis, and the fourth one is repository. But it's very important that you need to know what you need. Are you needing help doing something? Are you needing help to create something? Are you needing help to understand something? Are you needing help to design something, right? So for example, in the case of assistive AI, it can be about draft discussion guide, draft questionnaire, synthetic interviews. In the case of creative AI, it can be creating a persona from your prompt, mapping the user journey, scenario writing, writing an insight statement and refine it. For analytical AI perspective, it can do an initial quant exploratory data analysis. It can also do text mining. And lastly, advisory AI, you'll be surprised that actually the AI can recommend some research design, initial as it may be, and still need a human oversight. It can also recommend technique, pros and cons as well. So instrumentation, writing a questionnaire, right? I have tried, there's a screenshot of the entire prompt and the questionnaire on the right. I don't think you can read it, it's quite small. But what we see is that for writing a questionnaire or a discussion guide, it is a good place to start if you're facing a blank page, especially if you're working in a new category, you don't know what to ask, right? So it's good for you to generate ideas of questions to ask. And sometimes it may be quite surface levels, but you can have the option to prompt for deeper dive into certain topics. So for example, when I asked the AI to generate a questionnaire on usage and awareness of telcos in Malaysia, right? It literally generates a usage and awareness question, but they don't have the context of the research framework, the full funnel of usage awareness consideration, etc. So it's a good place to start, but you still need to check the scale, right? Some of the scale don't make sense. Some of the response options are not exhaustive. You need to double check the questionnaire flow as well. For example, with the example I show here, they ask the usage question before the awareness question. So clearly the machine is not perfect in this respect. So back to our principle of diverging ideas for the start, it gives us a good starting point, but you still need to do some groundwork to refine it, right? It speed up the process, but it doesn't replace the process completely. Now, synthetic user, this is an early stage startup. I try it out, and what we see is that it gives you what almost feels like a transcript of an actual user interview. So it gives you idea of what user might face, and you can have the option to chat with the user to prompt into deeper dive into certain topics. But the downside of this is that as I read these synthetic interviews, right, there's a lack of authenticity of consumer speak, right? It sounds very formal. So when you talk to consumers, they will talk in a way that is very authentic, full of fillers, hesitations, digressions, all the syntactical idiosyncrasies that you wouldn't find in a perfect transcript like this from synthetic users. And also it's not exhaustive in terms of findings. I asked a simple question to these users. Why do you prefer to use global travel SIM card instead of roaming when you travel overseas? And the person say it's basically lower cost, easier to manage, while roaming can be unexpected charges at the end that you cannot anticipate. So you use, and the cost of roaming is higher. But as far as I know, based on my industry knowledge, definitely for roaming, one of the other issue is also connection, right? Sometimes people land at the airport. They want to quickly update their family that they have landed. But as you know, turning on roaming for some providers, when you land at the airport, it takes at least 15-20 minutes for the network to latch on. And this caused some users panic, annoyance. They're like just trying to get a quick message back home. This kind of nuances doesn't come out from synthetic users, right? So again, good start, but never the exhaustive full list that we can expect from a normal research study. This deck will be circulated after the call, so you'll be able to read some of the stuff that is written here in more detail when you zoom in. Now, this stuff is more exciting, right? I think when it comes to the craft of research, some of the tasks like questionnaire creation, discussion guide creation, and synthetic user interview, it hasn't reached a stage where it can fully assist us. But when it comes to things like concept creation, there's some exciting possibilities here. I think what generative AI is good at is that it's very brilliant in putting two unrelated things together and generate new ideas from there. So here I prompted the AI to create a partnership between the North Face and Muji. And it come up with a campaign called Serenity in the Wild, with an overview, a target audience, a product line, and then I use Midjourney, the image AI image generation tool, to create a concept image of what that product line is going to look like, which obviously is a North Face backpack with a Muji aesthetics, right? So you can see that it's quite fully fledged. It's quite fully fleshed out at this stage, and you can just get a creative to do some touch up. You can use this as a starting point to refine it. So it does speed up the innovation process a fair bit. In fact, I know one agency, the Board of Innovation, has started using AI in the full funnel innovation process and generate hundreds of concepts in a matter of days and basically test through it using AI, and using it for ideation, using it for workshopping. So very promising start in the area of generation. There's also, in the area of analysis, you have thematic discovery. So here I use a platform called getthematic.com. It's a startup that deals with analysis of open-ended feedback from consumers. It can be customer service chat. It can be open-ended survey response. So this example I show you here is open-ended response of an NPS survey. Right. So what it does well is that it gives you a very quick grasp of the key issues and give you a quantifiable core, right? All the reasons that were fed into the system are open-ended reasons. Why do you promote? Why do you detract? So it's not hard-coded into closed-ended options, but the machine was smart enough to identify themes and sub-themes and quantify the impact of those on the NPS score. But the cons of this is that it might miss out on nuances, right? Because some of the verbatims combine 2 or 3 reasons in one, and there's some interrelationship between the reasons, right? Because of the network issue, I don't find value in subscribing to this network as compared to subscribing to another network that has better quality but equal price. This kind of nuance is not captured. And some of the, for MBS survey analysis to be actionable, the open-ended coding has to be very specific. If network is inconsistent, in which area? If network drops, in which area? If value is not there, is it because of the price or is it because of the amount of data? So the machine can only identify the codes up to a certain level, and we still need some human intervention to narrow down to the specifics and modify this coding frame. So that's a thematic discovery experiment that I've done. As far I can see, it's 60-70% there, but we still need to look closely at what we get out of the system before we can put it across to the stakeholders. Now, this is a fresh experiment I ran last week. So we were trying to understand the impact of convenience on human tradition in Southeast Asia, right? A hypothetical problem statement that I fed into the AI. So it was able to generate 3 stories that illustrate the impact of impact of convenience and seamlessness on the wayang kulit tradition across 3 different so-called codes or themes, right? One is convenience is the enemy of tradition. Second is convenience and tradition is symbiotic. And last is convenience is a savior of tradition, right? And then I use Midjourney AI to generate the character image and the illustration of the story to bring it to life. Basically, in the first story, convenience is the enemy of tradition. We see a university researcher introducing VR wayang kulit, which get a lot of Gen Z excited to rediscover the arts. But at the same time, it comes at the expense of the wayang kulit puppet master livelihood. In the second, or I'll touch on the second later, but in the last scenario or theme, convenience is seen as a savior of tradition. Young people are increasingly less attracted to traditional arts like wayang kulit, etc. So what was developed in this scenario is a wayang fusion, an augmented reality platform that combines the artistry of wayang puppetry with immersive digital storytelling. Right. So in this case, because of the technology and the convenience, wayang kulit got a new lease of life. Whereas the middle is sort of like the scenario where things are in harmony, right? Technology is neither taking the upper hand or is seen as an enemy. So in this case, you still have technology helping to live stream puppetry, helping to spread the art form to a new generation of consumers. But it also hosts interactive workshop where online audience could engage with the puppeteers, learn the art, and even contribute stories. So the digital platform here is seen as a conduit or a catalyst for greater engagement with the traditional artists instead of replacing the traditional artists. Now you'll be surprised that I didn't write any of this, right? It's come out as a prompt when I asked them to deconstruct the cultural politics of convenience in Southeast Asia, write a story about it. They give me a story. I think it's quite vague. So after that, I prompted, make this story more utopian, where technology plays a greater role. And then I asked them to flip the story to the opposite end. And then I asked them again to write a story with the stand being somewhere in the middle. And I create 3 scenarios here. And if you've done things like semiotic analysis or foresight technique like causal layer analysis, you will know that the importance of stories and signs is critical to create scenarios in these methods, right? So here I'm actually thinking the AI did a pretty good job of imagining possibilities for us to carry on and understand what are the possible futures of convenience in contrast to traditional cultures and rituals. So very exciting case study. Um, and I can share more with you as well in the chat or in the Q&A. Lastly is repository, right? So the traditional way of repository management for research is that you have, at a very basic level, a Google Drive where you upload all your reports. And then when stakeholders want something, you manually pull out the links and send it to the stakeholder. Or you have an internet site that index the research report in a structured folder manner where the stakeholders can go in and search for the right report. Or if you are more advanced, right now you can use some sort of research repository platform like Dovetail, where it enable you to manage transcript, tagging, create stories, build a front page for your research study. But what is the future of research repository? I would think it's more natural language based. In this case, why not create a chatbot based on your research, right? So I've experimented with chat base. I can't show you the actual chatbot because it's basically proprietary research data from my organization. But what I can tell you is that once you upload a few reports into the chat-based platform, you can actually ask them like very natural language questions. Can you tell me the top 3 barriers of roaming in Singapore? Instead of like searching endlessly for reports and trying to wade through pages and pages of PowerPoint, it removed time from that process of searching and digesting. But the cons is that it needs reports in an easy to ingest format, which means it has to have readable text, right? If the report happens to be very image heavy and not a lot of words on it, there's nothing much for it to extract. So that's the only downside of it. So those are some of the experiments that I have run in the past few months with a generative AI in market research. Very early stage findings. But if you would like to start experimenting yourself, I have some recommendation of tools you can use, right? Now, the obvious one is ChatGPT. Pay for the pro account, $30 a month. You get to use GPT-4, you get to use plugins, you get to use the data analysis tool. DALL-E 3 is coming to the region soon. Midjourney is still great with generating high quality concept image. There's Notion AI, which I'm going to show you in a while on how I use it to manage future scan signals for future projects. And then there's ChatGPT in Google Sheet, where you can actually type a formula and classify an open end into a specific set of codes, right? Chat-based and battle are alternatives that you can use to build a AI chatbot for your research repository. So those are some of the options you can use to start off exploring AI in research for your organization. I think the most important thing is that I want everyone to walk away thinking of AI as a handshake that we can have instead of something that is threatening us, right? As you can see here, there's a lot of use cases. At the end of the day, it's a tool, right? We have used other tools in the past, mobile, internet. Why not just use AI as a tool for the future? So how will you have your AI handshake, right? At the moment, I would like to imagine it as AI and market research are more like hacks and recipes. So different researchers will start coming up with different recipes for how to use AI in research. So there's no dominant platform that say that it can do everything in research with AI yet. So right now, it's really about tinkering and really about exploring the pros and cons, having a balanced mindset. Um, like what I show you so far, right? I didn't say that everything is great, but there are some good things and there are some things that can be improved upon. Um, but I think it's important for us to start exploring rather than just rejecting it as something that will replace our job or something that is too inferior to a real human connection. A real human connection is still important, but there are certain part of the process we can fast track with AI. So the question I want to leave you is how will you have your AI handshake tomorrow? And with that, come the end of my sharing. Let's see what question we have.
Hi, thanks, Fong. There are actually a few questions which have come in the chat, as you can see. Some Upasana writes, "What is a synthetic user interview?" I think you can take that first, and then there's a few other questions. I'll just get to that. Oh wow, Upasana has uh, quite a few
Yeah,
questions later. Yeah, I'll also check the live streaming in the meantime for any questions, and I'll paste it here.
No questions from the live streaming.
Okay, so I think that's your question. What is a synthetic user interview?
yeah, I'm gonna change my screen share here. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this is synthetic users. Now, basically, it's a startup that you can get on the beta list to create a set of audiences, a set of pain points. So the way it works is that it's basically trained on a few, a large number of data sets about user pain points, audience characteristics, etc. So when you start querying it, you can just say, for example, you are a um, digital natives age 25 to 34, enjoying experiences over material possessions, um, time spent heavily on mobile, lacking work-life balance, right? So let's say that is your persona. And then you create a need or pain or goal, um, finding easy to consume snacks for mid-afternoon occasion. And you can also add a solution as well. You have a solution to test. But here I'm just going to choose this user and this hypothetical problems that they have. So the user is digital natives age 25 to 34, enjoying experiences over material possessions, time spent heavily on mobile, lacking work-life balance, The pain point right now is finding easy to consume snacks for mid-afternoon occasions. And let's see what it can create. So I want to do 3 interviews. Okay, the platform is loading. I want to do 3 interviews. So right now, it will start generating a hypothetical interviews if a users fitting this audience description and having this problem, right? So it takes a while to run. Yeah, so for example, I didn't specify the location, so this person is based in Canada. But you have to know that there's no actual interviews conducted, right? It's all algorithmically generated. So this person description of a problem is that I had a particular busy day at work when I had back-to-back meetings and deadline to meet. By mid-afternoon, I started feeling hungry and low on energy. I didn't have time to have a proper lunch or prepare a nutritious snack beforehand. I ended up grabbing a bag of chips. While it temporarily curbed my hunger, I feel disappointed with myself for choosing an unhealthy option. So I can ask this person a question. Well, it's still loading the interviews. When it's finished loading, I can ask this person a question to probe into some of the findings that have been presented here. Yeah, since for example, I asked this person, what would you describe as a perfect, healthy, high nutrition snack for your busy lifestyle? So it should be compact and not messy. I can eat at my desk while commuting. High in protein and fiber. Prefer to be low sugar and free from additives. Taste is also an important factor. So it gives you some start points to think about so that you can, for me personally, so that you can write the discussion guide and make it more targeted and nuanced. But I wouldn't take these interviews and bring it to the stakeholder and say, hey, I do 3 user interviews and this is the results. Yeah. Yeah, it's great for concept testing or assumption validations, but again, I have to say is really starting point. I personally wouldn't take it to my CEO and say, hey, I've done 3 user interviews. I will use it to aid my research design process. Are these persona based on real people or are they our imagination? Well, they are imagination, but algorithmically imagined people, right? So it's a composite image of many real consumer data points that they have put into the system. One person asked a question: when you created your chatbot for repository, how do you maintain data security? What data policies do you put in place? So this is a good question. I think it varies from platform to platform. I think for chat-based, they basically have an enterprise plan where they have a lot more data security features. So I think that is something that you can explore. But obviously, there are also other restrictions like certain data cannot leave the organization. So might have to scrub off all the PII data before you use it in a chatbot. for example. But for most research reports, it doesn't come with PII data, so it should be safe. Yeah, you can't take what they say seriously. What can we use it for? Well, I can use it for ideation, right? At least now I know some of the considerations for these hypothetical users when it comes to edible uh, snacks in the afternoon is taste, is messiness, lack of messiness, is nutrients, etc. I can use it to probe deeper in an actual interview, but I wouldn't treat it as the conclusive evidence. What is a sort database for persona generated? Do I know? Well, the honest answer is I don't know yet. I have only joined the beta recently, so there's a lot of things I can learn from here. But yeah, you should try it out yourself. Maybe you'll find out. Kelly have tried questionnaire creation but wasn't useful. Yeah, I would say if you define useful in a sense that you take it and put it to the scripter and script it and put it into fieldwork, definitely a no, right? Because it's very rough. Um, so for someone who need a quick ideation, sparring partner um, on the questionnaire, I think that's a good start. But I don't think it's supposed to write a questionnaire for you completely. Yeah. Let me check the Q&A on Slido. Nothing I can see. Probably people miss the slideshow. Is there any other questions, Sanjita?
No, all the questions are here, so I think we have you've also answered everything. So yeah, I think we are just right on time as well. So thanks, Fong, for sharing this, and I think it was very interesting. Also, can see from the the conversations which is going on, and yeah, thanks everyone else for joining us today. We will be sharing the recording later on in YouTube and also on our page, which is Design New page, which is on LinkedIn. So if you are on that page, you will be able to see that as well. Yeah. Thanks a lot, From. Thanks for supporting this, and thanks for taking us
Yeah.
through.
If you have any other questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. We can form a
Yeah.
little AI and MRX community there. But other than that, thanks everyone for the enthusiasm and discussion points.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. So, bye everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Phong. Thank you, Sanchita.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.